On today's episode of the Ag Irrigation Collective, we're going to take a look at the U.S. Drought Monitor. Stick around. Hi, I'm Wes Schaefer, your host with the Ag Irrigation Collective. We sure appreciate you stopping by today to join us for a Ag Irrigation Collective podcast. One thing we're going to go over today is the U.S. Drought Monitor. I imagine some of you are familiar with the Drought Monitor, which can be found at droughtmonitor.unl.edu. And, of course, I'll put a link to this in the description of the show notes as well as the description of the video on YouTube. So if you choose to go look at it. If I'm not wrong, I believe they update it weekly. And quite honestly, we may choose throughout this spring and summertime to dive onto here very frequently and discuss what is on here in the event a lot of you that are listening or viewing this have an opportunity to gather this information without having to go to the website if you choose to take this information in by listening as opposed to reading the info. Now, this Drought Monitor website is put together in part by the USDA as well as the National Drought Mitigation Center, and NOAA also plays a part in this. And toward the bottom of the website, you can learn all of the organizations that are a part of putting this information together. The particular week that we're going to be discussing, this information became available on February 6th of 2025. And so typically on podcasts, a lot of podcasters or podcast producers like to put out material, what's called evergreen material, meaning you can listen to this in a year from now and it still holds water or still has some value. However, I have chosen to take a look at this that will change over time by way of the drought monitoring conditions and different things. And so this is very current type of issues and current type of weather patterns that are happening basically as we speak or maybe a week lagging. And if you're listening to this a year from now, I'm terribly sorry. So anyway, keep hanging around the podcast. We appreciate you joining us. But on the Drought Monitor, this from February 6th goes into different areas, and we'll discuss all those areas by way of what they're seeing with weather, and we can kind of keep an eye on that. And out of the Northeast, which is kind of your New England area, they had below normal temperatures this week and missed any meaningful precipitation. These conditions from New Jersey throughout central Massachusetts degraded along with western New York, where abnormally dry conditions expanded along Lake Ontario. Little to no precipitation for several weeks is taking its toll on the stream flows and surface level soil moisture in the area. And in the southeast, they saw a mixture of improvements and degradations. Improvements followed a band of heavy precipitation that fell last week. The rest of the southeast continues with dry conditions due to a prolonged lack of rainfall and warmer than normal temperatures. And I actually think right now we're seeing warmer than normal temperatures across the entire United States. I know here in the West, we've seen that very high temperatures in the last week as well. Mississippi and far northeastern Alabama saw 1 category improvements from the recent precipitation and improved stream flows. North central Alabama, northern Georgia, South Carolina, and western North Carolina had significant 1 category degradations. Now, these 1 category, 2 category, stuff like that, there's a chart on the Drought Monitor website that tells you what those are and what those mean. So click over to that, take a look at that. These areas have been without rainfall for extended periods, leading to drier soil moisture and decreased stream flows. Southwestern and southeastern Georgia also saw the expansion of moderate drought. Similarly, with warmer than normal temperatures, Florida missed out on the precipitation and saw moderate drought expansion into the Tampa Bay and Miami-Dade areas. And then we're going to creep into the south, where they experienced above normal temperatures, and the absence of this week's precipitation led to widespread degradations across Texas and Oklahoma panhandles. Along the Red River and in central Oklahoma, last week a band of heavy rainfall fell, leading to improvements in central Texas along the eastern edge of Oklahoma, Texas border along the Red River, and up into central and northern Tennessee. Outside the band of precipitation, Tennessee saw degradations in the west and along the Georgia and North Carolina borders. As we move into the Midwest, they were warmer than usual, with Iowa and surrounding states being 10 to 15 degrees above normal. Precipitation was isolated this week with a band of rainfall from northwest Missouri, southern Iowa, and northwest Illinois, resulting in one category improvement in western Missouri, southwest Iowa, and along the Mississippi River of eastern Iowa and northwestern Illinois. Unfortunately, this precipitation provided little relief as short-term precipitation, soil moisture, and in some cases stream flow remained below the 30th percentile. Abnormally dry conditions further expanded southward into central Illinois and Indiana. Central Iowa, southern Minnesota, and southern Wisconsin also saw the further expansion of abnormal dryness and moderate drought. The high plains, like much of the central part of the country, the high plains were 5 to 10 degrees warmer than usual. Little precipitation led to minor improvements in southeast Nebraska, northeast Kansas, and along the Wyoming Rockies. Due to prolonged dryness, South Dakota saw the expansion of severe drought in the north-central eastward and extreme drought in the southwest. As we move into the west, the northwest saw below normal temperatures, while the rest of the western states were near or above normal. The Intermountain West saw temperatures of 5 to 10 degrees above normal. Precipitation fell along the western coast from Washington to northern California, central Idaho, and higher elevations in Montana and Wyoming. This precipitation, along with good snow water equivalents, aided dry and drought conditions. In central Washington, northwest and northern Wyoming, and central Montana, unlike the rest of the Northwest, Oregon saw the expansion of abnormal dryness in the Northwest. Despite precipitation, stream flow and soil moisture were below the 30th percentile, indicating abnormally dry conditions. The remainder of the West saw widespread degradations. Severe and extreme drought expanded into southern California, into southern Nevada, Utah, and Arizona. Exceptional drought was introduced in southern Nevada along the northwestern Arizona border. Conditions are alarmingly dry, with dry soil and high fire danger. Moderate drought and abnormally dry conditions expanded in central and northern Utah and western Colorado. One category degradations continued into New Mexico, with abnormal dryness to extreme drought expanding across the state into West Texas. So I think that's important on that particular report, that we keep up on what the drought conditions, our rainfall is looking like within the United States. I know there's some international listeners to this podcast, and I don't have any information for any of you regarding your drought conditions. However, within agricultural irrigation, it is very important that we keep up on these drought conditions. Areas that during the irrigation season or during the growing season are very reliant upon rainfall, and soils that are charged by wintertime rainfall is very important. And then also on top of that, it also is very important for areas that are 100% reliant upon irrigation, so that the aquifers and the snowpack can be replenished over the wintertime. And so I think it is important that we cover these. If you're willing, leave a comment, whether it be on a podcast or on YouTube here, if you think that it's important that we go over some of these Drought Monitor website reports, whether it be weekly, bi-weekly. If you want to hear stuff like this, let me know in the comments. Maybe leave a thumbs up. I'd sure appreciate if you're finding value in this podcast or this YouTube video to subscribe to the channel. I do appreciate you joining us today and being part of the podcast. I know I'm better for it. That's going to conclude our podcast. It was brief, to the point. We wanted to get this drought info out to you. And I would imagine, unless I hear differently from multiple viewers, we're going to probably continue to do this at least monthly to kind of update on what the drought conditions across the United States are looking like. Sure appreciate you stopping by today. Be profitable, my friends. We'll catch you on down the road.